just want to say, like what I said earlier, if Greece and South Africa were to ally with each other during the Greek and Trojan War, y'all, because um Greece and South Africa are two unstoppable, incredibly tough countries. Like I said earlier, if they were to ally with each other, then it would make a ton of sense. A ton of sense. Because, thousands of years ago, Greece, during the Okay, before I get there, South Africans are tough. They're the toughest black people in Africa, based on Mandela ending segregation, and based on the Zulu warriors. Those were some kick-ass warriors, y'all. Every time I looked them up, they wore nothing on their feet. Nothing on their feet. All they did was have swords, spears, and shields. Oh man. And another thing. The 300 Spartans, like the movie 300 I got right here. Those men were heavily outnumbered, wore less clothing, wore sandals on their feet instead of boots, had marched all the way to the enemy country instead of taking any ships with them or any wagons. They didn't take any wagons with them. They had no bows and arrows. They had no horses with them. They had no artillery with them, which would be catapult and those big ass crossbows that are called harpoons or whatever they're called. They never retreated and never surrendered, and they were still able to kick the asses of 1 million Persians during that time. All I'm saying is, Greece and South Africa should have been allies during the Greek and Trojan War. And they could have. They could have, y'all. If Greece would have, because Greece is a lot closer to any other country that is in Europe that's closer to all the African, Middle Eastern, and Asian countries. They could have been allies, y'all. But if they were allies, first things first, Greece would have to take they would have to take 1,000 ships to South Africa during, before the Greek and Trojan War. And ally with the toughest country in Africa, the dirtiest South. Southern people are tough. That's why I say that. Y'all, I was born in San Antonio, Texas. Southern people are tough. I'm glad to be Southern. I'm not ashamed to be Southern. Definitely not, because they're tough. Even the Southern girls. But before I get there, all I need to say is Greece and South Africa would have to ally with each other during the Greek and Trojan War. They would have to have a really powerful and tough ally like them. I'd also be a Greek soldier, but I'd be a black man from South Africa. I'd be an ordinary Greek soldier, and I would also be in command of 160,000 South African Zulu warriors or soldiers during that time, or troopers, however you want to call them, would be a powerful ally. Greeks and South Africans don't play around when they know nothing is right, and they want to teach their enemies a lesson if their enemies ain't getting the message. Y'all, I would make sure to ally both countries, South Africa and Greece, because if we allied with each other, then it would be a lot easier to win the Greek and Trojan War and bring Helen and Paris to justice for all their treason. So, 210,000 warriors against 25,000 Trojans. Trojan soldiers. Hector wouldn't stand a chance, because if the two craziest countries that contain the deadliest warriors and contain the toughest people stand a chance against the Trojans, then it's done. But y'all, even now, Greeks and South Africans are tough. When it was January of 2011, I was watching this video of a whole bunch of Greeks rioting against the SWAT team because for some reason, I don't know why they were rioting, but they were rioting. Type in Greek riot. And no way, y'all. South Africa and Greece are a lot in common. And if they would have allied with each other, like before the Greek and Trojan War, then
Troy would not stand a chance. We'd be allies for... If time travel was possible, I'd make sure that Menelaus got his justice and Greece and South Africa were allied with each other. And then centuries and millenniums later, like during the Greek and Persian War, all of South Africa would ally with Greece during that time after helping the Greeks win the war against Troy, and then bringing Helen and Paris to justice for their 10 years of self-centeredness and treason. They would, after they did that, Greece would be glad to ally with South Africa, and South Africa would be glad to ally with Greece. To me, y'all, Greece is the toughest country in Europe, and even now, then, thousands of years ago, and now, because if you watch the video, the Greeks were winning the riot against the SWAT team because they didn't like whatever was going on in Greece. And another thing, before that, Nelson Mandela, rest in peace, Nelson Mandela. He helped end segregation in South Africa, and that wasn't easy. He unfortunately, him and a few guys, blew up a few buildings. Greece and South Africa will blow people up when they're not doing the right thing. So they would be perfect allies during that time. Trust me. And another thing, now that I got there, before that, let me tell y'all what would have to happen. Greece would be so happy that they got helped for 2 wars during the Greek and Trojan War and the Greek and Persian War. Starting with the Greek and Persian War, because I already went back to the Greek and Trojan War. 300 Spartans and 300 Zulu warriors, if they came together to fight off the Persian Empire, Xerxes and the Persians wouldn't stand a chance. Not a single chance. And all the men that the 600 kick-ass warriors killed who fought for the Persian Empire, they wouldn't spare their lives like they said in the movie 300, Leonidas and his commander, the movie 300 right here. Kick-ass movie. During that time when they were kicking the asses of 1 million Persian soldiers, they were yelling, "No prisoners and no mercy," because they did sick things when they invaded Greece. And of course, when you're invading a country or a city in that country, you're not doing the right thing. The Zulu were like that too. They killed. They would also kill soldiers and not spare them if they did the wrong thing. And if they were to ally with each other, come together, then, like before the Greek and Trojan War, all the way to um, World War II, because during World War I and World War II, Germany, the Nazis, conquered all of Europe, including Greece. But if Greece and South Africa had allied with each other, then the Nazis wouldn't stand a chance. If anyone does anything wrong in Greece, or does something wrong in South Africa, you get blown up. They would make perfect allies, y'all. I'm not kidding. All I want to say is they could have allied with each other. Greece had the ships to sail all the way there because they're the closest European country, closer to all the African, Middle Eastern, and Asian countries. They were the closest European country, closer to all of them. And if they would have allied, then it would have been done for. Now to get to 1662, when the Dutch had invaded South Africa, they did sick, evil things to women and children, but if Greece and some black people from South Africa living in Greece after helping them during the Greek and Trojan War and the Greek and Persian War had reinforced South Africa during that time, Dutch soldiers would get decapitated for doing evil things, and they'd have to retreat back to the Netherlands, and everything would be just fine. Y'all, all I'm saying though is the toughest countries, some of the toughest countries ever, and the two toughest countries that are in the near the Eastern Hemisphere, Greece, South Africa, toughest country in Africa, Greece, toughest country in Europe. If they came as allies, then no country that dared to mess with them would stand a chance. That's all I would have to say. But all they'd have to do is ally. Have a nice day, y'all.